the two parties of the negotiation. The livelihoods of professional musicians often depended on the income that the producers provided. Arguments or negotiations were made by the most creative personas of the 19th century composers and the musical institutions run by the publishers. The publishers wanted to fill their pockets with tickets sold at venues. The composer wanted money to afford their lifestyles. Interests. The publisher's objective was encouraging the composers to compete with each other for fame and fortune. They had benefit concerts to incite this. Public demand, attractiveness, and filling venues were their priorities. Composers wanted to develop a new style that was a clear advancement over what had come before. Their objective was to improve rather than imitate the stylistic models from the classical masters before them, live their chosen lifestyles, and survive the economy of the 19th century. For some, it was that they were a family man and needed it to support their families. Positions. The publisher. Sheet music they knew they could sell was the what they needed. By filling in seats at their venues, they could do this. The composer. Compensation was the what they needed. By selling their music, they could do this. With this came the popularity of a large public concert sponsored by the producers that soon became a marginal phenomenon. From this phenomena came stylistic evolution, the growth in ensemble size, and increasing public nature of venues. Concepts from class. The publisher had a commander communication style, hence the game strategy of getting composers to compete, and this meant either way they won something. The composer had an inspired communication style, helping them be creative enough to convince the publisher, hence the game strategy of giving the publisher what they wanted and in turn got the money they needed. If the composer was competent in matters of business, they could persuade the publisher to believe that the public already demanded their music. What went well in the negotiation? Lasting relationships between successful composers and publishing firms. Questions and answers. Composers cannot help but evolve their music into something different than the masters before them in order to give value to music itself that the publisher was looking for making new ways for the stylistic evolution of both venue popularity and composers' music. Questions and answers. Professional success for the composer was always based on their competency in matters of business. This would either create the long-lasting relationships and multiple publications, or it would not. In conclusion, the negotiations between the composers and publishers of the 19th century went well according with whether or not a composer was business savvy. If they were business savvy, then they usually did pretty well for themselves and had multiple publications. And the publishers had a victory in filling their venue seats. In this case, a win-win strategy was always the best way for a composer to be successful in the negotiation and for the publisher as well.